What is up, RotoGrinders? Myself and Head Chopper and Taylor Smith. You don't see him right now, but he'll be jumping here in just a second. We're going to be talking about some MLB DFS. If you happen to play some Brewers, congratulations. That worked out for you in the day slate. If not, let's chase some losses. Chop, 7-game slate or 6-game slate? When one was 6, I think it's kind of 7, right? 7-game slate. Kind of, sort of, somewhat straightforward. We got your Astros, I think, are featured here. Couple stud pitchers, both really difficult matchups, but certainly they can overcome it. Webb, I don't know if I should use Webb as a stud. We'll talk about it. Taking on the Dodgers, tough matchup. Of course, Pablo Lopez taking on the Yankees, tough matchup. And then we got Framber Valdez, and all his quality starts and all his ground balls taking on the Athletics, who actually are better than people think, better than their reputation. But, have you dug into the pitcher that's facing the Astros today? I imagine you have, but we'll be breaking that down amongst all the pitchers. And joining us also, Taylor Smith. What's up, Taylor? Welcome to the show. We didn't nothing. You missed nothing. There's nothing to catch up. Just some pleasantries. I don't think Chop said a word yet, to be honest. But you can chime in. Welcome. 7-gamer. How you feeling?
Feel good. Yeah, it looked a little bit more clear than the last few nights where it's been kind of muddled at the top on the hitting side. But yeah, a little shorter too, only 7 games, and looks fun. So excited to get into it with you guys.
I know you're a West Coast guy. Did you dabble in the early slate, or is that too early for you? What, 10 o'clock, 10:10, early morning, first pitch, or is that just something you take off because you're on that West Coast time? And it was kind of a nonsense slate too.
I usually play the early slates, and I usually regret them. I think the start times always being like 4 hours apart between the games, and the late swapping you have to do with lineups being different is kind of a beating. But today I had a dentist appointment, actually, so I missed the early slate, sadly.
Understandable. Hopefully all is good. Chop, welcome to the show. Baseball. I know later on in the show we're going to be doing some basketball nicknames as far as our tier. You kind of open that up, but people are going to have a good time and chat with that. Chat, kindly hit that like button, do subscribe, turn on those notifications, do all those things, hit all those buttons. Oh, we should mention today we are doing a Wheel Wednesday. Get into the Discord, rotogrinders.com/Discord. Producer Steve has a post there. Just go ahead and click that post. He'll take your name. He'll throw it on the wheel. He's going to spin that wheel. We're going to spin the wheel before we do our rankings, our tier rankings when it comes to stacks. That's probably going to happen, give or take, around like 5:40, 5:35. I know a lot of you guys like to late to the last second and give Steve all this work and he's got to cram him in. None of that. Get in early, get in often, just once. Just get in early though and make his life easier. Chop, what's up? Welcome to the show.
What's up, Dean? I'd like to say that number one, what's up to Butthole Jenkins in chat? He's a friend of the program. He's there, and giving him a shout out. And Brian C., I don't think this is correct, Brian. Dean did not fall in the toilet. That's not why we were late to the show. I don't know what that even means, but that's not what happened.
Well, you know what that means. I mean, it clearly is an unlikely scenario, but you understand what's being suggested there, right?
No, why don't you break it down for me, Dean? What's being suggested there?
I don't want to give you a visual, but I think context clues, you can kind of sort of somewhat piece that together. Sometimes It is my fault. I don't want to throw anybody under Jerome Bettis, but it was not my fault this time, and you cannot blame it on me. But we apologize for being a few minutes late. But of course, look, it's a 7-gamer. We're taking you all the way up the lock. Crunch time coming in as well. I think it's Squirrel, Dave Potts, and Kevin Roth. Roth, by the way, he was on an early crunch time. If you guys watched the early crunch time, he said he's going fishing. I think we might get the I don't want to say drunk Roth. I think we're gonna get to kind of a loose Roth. I'm just throwing it out there. I know you're a big fisher, Chop. You like to have a special trip every year you build around fishing. I don't get it. It's not for me, but I understand some people like it.
That's fine, Dean. Not everybody's into the outdoors. It's okay. So some of us like to touch a little grass, touch a little water. It's okay not to if you want to stay inside and do nothing with your life. It's fine, Dean. That's fine.
So what I was going to ask though, Chop, is like it's kind of they kind of go hand in hand. You don't just fish and like drink water, right? Drink what you want. Have at it. Enjoy yourself. He's kicking back on Grandpa's cough medicine, is what I'm suggesting.
There's, to each his own, Dean. Like I don't drink anymore, right? That's not me. My body really can't handle it anymore, so I don't drink anymore. But I like to just get outdoors and do something within nature that's a little bit different, Dean, than sit in the house. So teach his own. Yeah, if that's what Roth wants to do, let him kick back a few beers. I ain't gonna judge that man.
I'm not saying he is, to be clear. I'm just speculating. I don't know. I'm not aware of Roth's plans, but he's been known from time to time. And like the forecast is pretty clear, right? We'll see. I'm looking forward to seeing Roth. I'm always looking forward to seeing Roth, but especially today. Taylor, you a fishing guy? Is that something you do? You partake?
I've gone fishing before. I've never actually caught a fish, so I'm the world's most unsuccessful fisherman. It's been a while though, so maybe I'm better now. But I thought fishing was like something you do like at dawn. So Roth went like in the middle of the day. That seems like not ideal.
I don't know when optimal fishing time is. I can't speak to that. Maybe Chop can. You a fly fishing guy, Chop? But that's a whole different tier. That's a whole different thing.
No.
Ice fishing, maybe?
No. I don't think I've ever been ice fishing. I like saltwater fishing. I like being out there on the bay, connected to the ocean. So yeah, the optimal time, if you really want to get technical, is morning or late evening when it starts to get a little like when the sun's just coming up or when the sun's going down. That'd be your best times. But you can go any time of day and you just adjust your strategy. There's strategy to it, Dean, so it's no big deal.
Yeah, Chad is saying we got to get Taylor to catch a fish. There you go. One of these days we'll get him to catch a fish. Maybe Chop, you can take him fishing. I have no idea. I'm not going to help you out in any particular way because I'm pretty sure I've essentially caught 0 fish in my lifetime as well. Okay. 7-gamer on this slate. Oh, Tim, Tasteful Tie says that's right. Tim is a champion ice fisherman, which I don't know who he's competing against. He's like the champion amongst like 7 people, but good for him. Maybe Tim can give you some tips. We'll see. We'll talk about that. I'm going to be on Sirius this weekend with Tim. I'm sure we're going to have a couple segments on his ice fishing prowess. Okay. Give me the overview here, Taylor. What are we looking at here as far as the 7-gamer? We kind of touched on it with, Houston looks like the super obvious offense. Texas looks good too. And there's some other good offenses against tougher matchups. Yankees taking on Lopez, Dodgers taking on Webb. Bad ballpark, but those are good offenses. And there's a couple interesting pivots as far as pitchers as well. Curious to get your screenshot.
Yeah, I think it's kind of an interesting pitching slate. I think you can go kind of deep into the pool on this slate. Lopez, not an ideal matchup against the Yankees, but definitely the most talented pitcher on the slate with the best numbers. So I'm not really scared to get to him even against the Yankees. I think Valdez is going to be pretty chalky against Oakland. Pretty good price on him on DK2 at 8.8. John Gray is playable. Morton against the Cubs, I don't think is a bad value. The Fenway game is kind of an odd one with 2 good pitchers, but it's also the best hitter's park on the slate. So I kind of think that's a game you can play from every angle. Stroman and Webb are kind of secondary pitching options, I think, matchup based. And then Canning as the full punt, I think, is something I'll also be playing both sides of just because he's 5.5 on DK and the Cardinals are also cheap. So a lot of ways that can go. And I think it's hard to peg which one you think is most likely to happen. So I think playing both sides is perfectly fine on that.
Keep an eye on the weather in Minnesota. It's currently yellow-orange. The weather in Atlanta currently green-yellow. We know Atlanta historically, their pop-ups, they're hard to predict. And of course, Roth will be on in about an hour or so, and he'll give you the update. But as of this writing, we had green in Boston, green-yellow for Atlanta, and yellow-orange, which seems like the potentially most dicey, but nothing really to panic about just yet. Looks mostly dry at first pitch, rain moving in maybe maybe 1 or 2 hours into the game. Well, 2 hours would be more ideal than 1, but we'll see. Obviously, the closer we get to lock, the more information Roth will have, the more precise he can be. But definitely something we want to keep an eye on. Chop, what are we looking at, man? This is your slate, man. This is all about the Astros. At least maybe that's just me. I think the Astros are the clear and obvious best offense. They have the biggest team total as well, just over 5, taking on a journeyman pitcher, Aaron Brooks. Not that Aaron Brooks and not the other Aaron Brooks. But this is the Aaron Brooks who was he was in baseball 10 years ago, bounced around in 4 different teams, was in the KBO, He's not promoted because he's good. He's just like they're desperate. They have no other arms. They're injured, and they don't care. And they're the Athletics, and they're a terrible organization. But 170, 190 innings throughout his career in Major League Baseball is like a 6 ERA, 1.7 homers per 9. It's not good. The K is like 15% as well. Chop, do you see that the same way? Of course, there are certainly some pivots, and everybody sees the same thing, and ownership and baseball variance, yada, yada. What is your screenshot?
Yeah, no, I didn't quite see it like that. I mean, sounds like you think, you got him pegged up as an absolute slam dunk. I didn't quite have him pegged up as a slam dunk, but, maybe so. Maybe you can change my mind throughout the course of the show. I think it is kind of straightforward, and then it kind of takes a little bit of a turn. So it's going to be an interesting slate. I don't really know what to do with pitching up top. We'll talk about them in depth, but I think Framber and Lopez are kind of up there in the chalk department, or at least in the projection department. I'm not sure both of them merit that. We can get into it, we'll dip into it, but I think it's kind of an odd slate for a smaller slate. So I think there's a lot of decisions to make.
All right, let's dive in. You kind of referenced some of the players, and we'll talk about ownership as well. Framber's getting the most ownership, which is, I guess that sounds about right. 8.8K taking on Oakland. They will strike out a fair bit, but they do have plenty of power. They're going to get upgraded as far as the ballpark, but Framber just does an incredible job keeping the ball on the ground. He's been BABIP several times this year, and that's why, he's had some unlucky games, but historically, when he's in a groove, he can go, quality start machine, doesn't give a lot of home runs. The other part of this, Chop, is, and I did bet this earlier today because I also love the number. I think it was 18.5 outs. I bet over 18.5 outs at plus 140 on Framber. That bullpen worked hard last night, Chop. You know why? Because your Astros are big old cheaters. They can't help themselves. They can't stop cheating. They got caught again.
Dean, I got to stop you right there before you besmirch that man's good name. That was just a little bit of sweat. Number one, it was a little bit of sweat. They couldn't even chalk it up to anything that was related to being sticky. They just didn't know it was just discolored. And secondly, I don't know if you watched the whole ordeal, Dean. It was pretty clear that all three of those umpires extremely racist against Ronel Blanco. Extremely racist.
It was clear.
So listen, we're taking that with a grain. I hope he files a complaint, and we move on. Well, they didn't want to listen to his side because he didn't speak the English very good, and then
he's been suspended 10 games and he won't appeal a suspension.
Pathetic, man. A little bit of sweat on the glove. What happened to the game I love, Dean? Like Mark Jackson said, what happened to the game I love? Let's just move on now.
Yeah, no, to be the bigger picture conversation, I actually agree. Like most of the pitchers and even the hitters like the pitchers having the sticky stuff, so they kind of know where the ball goes, and it's not necessarily a competitive advantage, just so like the player doesn't get plunked in the head, that kind of thing. Every pitcher will talk about it like that's no longer pitching. That you should have something, rosin or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
It's a silly thing.
In addition to that, Dean, just from a macro level, so he's pitched about 50 innings this year. Don't they get checked after every time they come off the mound? Aren't they supposed to get checked, or at least a few times a game? So this has never been an issue before. So what's going on now? And if you can't really tell what's happening, because there was obviously a lot of controversy, like what's going on here? If you can't really tell, it's probably nothing too bad. And then the last point I would make, they let the damn Yankee guy go in and wash his hands. They let the Yankee kid go in and wash his hands and come back out and throw it all back, lather his hands back up again with some sticky stuff. Come on, man.
Ridiculous. Yeah.
East Coast bias right there.
There you go. Yeah, the Yankees, obviously, they're loved by the umpires, by your logic. Yeah, for sure. I agree with the bigger picture. Like it's kind of a silly thing, and it's probably nothing. And everybody's still probably doing something in the gray area, I imagine. What I was thinking of that GIF, the GIF of the security guard just kind of lets everybody in, like patting them down, letting them in. That's what I was thinking of. Like that's what they've been doing the entire year, and all of a sudden they brought in a new security guard. This guy's on lunch break or something like that, and he felt like he had to do something. Let's suspend somebody. All right. The bigger picture, though, as I was saying, that bullpen for Houston, they went extra innings too. That bullpen got worked hard. So I think there's a chance we can get Framber going like 6, 7, 8, 9, even 9. I think CGSO is in play. That was my bold call. in the expert survey today. If BABIP goes his way, I can see him throwing, I don't want to say dropping a Maddox, but he can throw 100, 105 pitches. That's possible. But I like him a good bit. Obviously, the Ks aren't spectacular, but you'll get more strikeouts if you're out there longer. Your official take here, Taylor, when it comes to Framber, is he good chalk? Because, Ks are king, and his Ks are not spectacular. They're fine, but not spectacular. Your thoughts?
I think he's good chalk just because it's kind of a combination of the price and the matchup and the slate. If you fade him, it's not like you have a ton of confidence in anyone else either. There's not like a glaring SP1 on this slate like there was yesterday against Cease or with Cease. So I'm fine with it. I'll probably have him quite a bit too, just because I don't really see a lot of appealing alternatives. There are plenty of pitchers to play on the slate, but I think he's the best combination of value and upside.
18.9% Ks in this season. Swinging strike rate does suggest that should probably be higher, 10.8%. The fly balls are just like not happening. And again, the BABIP stuff I kind of referenced before, 341. So, a little bit unlucky as far as BABIP. Doesn't give up home runs, 0.61 homer per 9 on the season. Chop, is that somebody you're building around, or were you going to go with the upside of a strikeout guy like Pablo Lopez, 31.6%, or maybe a guy like Taj Bradley? Very first start of the year, he was spectacular. They let him go. They gave him a leash. They gave him 6 innings there in Tampa. Taking on a Boston team that's obviously not as good as it once was. What's your official take here, Chop, when it comes to the Framber and the pivots? Lopez, who's probably the best pitcher, but tougher matchup.
Yeah. So Framber, I think I've got to play him, even though I have my doubts about him. He's filled with a lot of variance these days. And then if you haven't noticed, guys, Oakland's not a bad offensive team. They do have some young hitters who are really, really solid. So it's a little bit scary. But all the projections are going his way, all the way down to the Vegas team total against him being the lowest on the slate. So, all those numbers are pointing in his direction. It's hard for me to get away from it because the guys after him, the pivots you talk about, I just kind of don't see them. They just don't feel very comfortable to me. I want to, before the show, my second pitcher was Pablo Lopez. I'm having my doubts now. The weather's creeping in. Don't know about that. Not only is the weather – Roth's last update said possible delay, which is the worst for starting pitchers. You just either, just don't start the game or let it happen. Let the delay happen very late. But he's kind of pinning it to a bad timeline for Lopez. And then not to mention it's a very small sample size. But with weather edge, we see some of those offensive numbers have looked pretty solid in this ballpark with this particular weather. So it kind of scares me a little bit because we are dealing with a really good offense already. So don't know if Pablo's going to be my guy. The pivots after that are rough too. You said, Taj Bradley, man, I don't think Boston's a particularly good offense. So I don't mind the matchup, and I might end up going that route. But man, Vegas is pretty good about sticking these guys within ranges and it's usually pretty accurate. If it was way off all the time, then they wouldn't be nearly as successful as they are. And they've got Boston pegged for a lot of runs tonight, one of the higher team totals on the slate. So I don't know about Bradley. And then, the other guys are just – there's nothing really that stands out to me. Do I want to play 50-year-old Charlie Morton? I don't know about that. Tanner Houck, I think, is really solid, and I don't like Tampa as much on offense this year. So maybe Houck is the pivot there. But I'm not getting very much of a discount on him compared to Pablo Lopez. Is kind of at least on DraftKings, it's a very similar number. So where's the pivot to Lopez? I don't know. I think you got to eat up Framber because what else? Now I got to pick 2 of these guys. I can't do that. So I'll eat the Framber chalk. Lopez is scaring me off, and the pivots we'll have to dig in deeper, but not really loving them, Dean. There's the questions about all of them.
Your point about the Oakland offense being better than people think. I wrote about this in the survey today. The current iteration, the current players that are healthy and available for Oakland, top 5 in ISO, top 5 in WRC plus versus righties. They also strike out 25.4% collectively. So it kind of goes both ways. And the other part of it is Framber just does a really good job keeping the ball on the ground and not giving up homers. So that's kind of what I'm leaning on. I'm kind of hoping for. Let's talk about those pivots though, Taylor. Do you have a favorite pivot? Is there somebody kind of standing out for you? There's only so many options, kind of a small slate, just 14 dudes throwing baseballs and some I think you very clearly just don't want. Aaron Brooks, I can't imagine. I don't know how many lineups I'd have to make to consider playing Aaron Brooks. Like, it's just not happening. Choppa's talking about 40-year-old Charlie Morton. He's in the pool, but like Carrasco's old and beat up and bad, so he's probably not going to be in anybody's iteration. Ryan Yarbrough, it looks like an opener situation mostly for the Dodgers, kind of a bullpen game. Maybe he goes 3 or 4 innings, but not enough for me. Assad, you want to pick on the Braves? Not really, but also it's not the best Braves lineup. There's no Acuna, and there's also no Riley, so the Braves are kind of weakened. And you referenced Canning, Taylor. The Cardinals have come alive a little bit, and I'm also not a Canning believer. So I think I'm probably going to be spending up on 2 of the better guys and just kind of figuring out there's some cheaper stuff that can kind of make stuff work. I assume Carpenter is going to land in that St. Louis lineup probably close to the top, and I'm happy to take the St. Louis side versus Canning. Happy to. Probably not the best way to phrase it. Willing to. But, give us the pivots here, Taylor. Like, who do we play if we're not spending all the way up on the studs? And do we get your official Pablo Lopez take versus the Yankees?
I'm kind of neutral on Lopez. Like, I might be right around the field in a multi-entry situation. He's coming in around like 30% last I saw on DK. It's not a comfortable spot, especially with the weather factored in. I am likely just to punt with Canning a lot with Framber at SP2, just because I don't have a ton of faith in the secondary plays. Lance Lynn is kind of a guy I'm getting to a little bit on the other side of that game. That's not something that feels good. I kind of think that's projections relying on old Lance Lynn, and the last couple of years' version of Lance Lynn has been pretty awful, all things considered, but you can say the same of the Angels. So I guess Lynn for 8-2 is okay. I don't love the matchup for Morton against the Cubs. Plenty of lefties in there, not a high strikeout lineup. I guess Houck against the Rays would be the most comparable Framber pivot at a similar salary, but again, not a good park. Not the easiest matchup against Tampa Bay. John Gray, like I said, he's kind of cheaper, so I guess that's okay. Cleveland's not the most threatening lineup, even if they don't strike out a lot. I don't have a lot of faith in any of these guys. Cleveland does actually kind of have a more strikeout-heavy lineup than usual, for what it's worth. Toward the bottom of the order, it's a bunch of 30% dudes. So I can get behind that if he's going to be kind of lower owned, but yeah, it looks like ownership's kind of spread out, and I think I agree with that.
No Bo Naylor. It's Austin Hedges doing the catching there for Cleveland. No Angels lineup just yet, but like you said, they keep with the fishing theme. Tim Salmon's not walking through that door. Mike Trout's not walking through that door. It's going to be a bad Angels lineup almost for sure. Morton's been pretty good. Several people in the chat talking about Charlie Morton. He's been all right. He is 40 though. Chop gun. He aged him up a little bit, but he is 40. He's not 50 exactly, but he's 40. But he's been all right. He's been fine. I don't know. When does Charlie Morton ever win a slate? Is sort of like kind of my question. We do have some extreme stuff. Speaking of umpires, people like the extreme pitchers umpires, the extreme hitters umpires. We got several of these. Maybe this will sway your mind. Extreme hitters umpire. There's 2 of them tonight. One for Chicago and Atlanta. So Assad and Morton. That's extreme hitters umpire. And an extreme hitters umpire for the St. Louis Angels game. That's for Canning and Lynn. One extreme pitchers umpire who's in, I think, the pivot, my favorite pivot game as far as the pitchers. That will be Taj Bradley and Tanner Houck, both kind of referenced there. Tanner, do we care about extremes? Is this something? Is it like a tiebreaker for you? Is it already baked into the projection? So who cares? How much do you care about it?
I don't really factor in umpires at all, honestly. I used to a little bit, but I think it's kind of factored in now to the projections for the most part.
Chopper, you got anything?
No, I'm the same. I just like building one lineup tonight on DraftKings. I might look at it as a tiebreaker here when I get down to trying to figure out who I want as my second pitcher or something like that. But otherwise, I've actually haven't looked at it all year long, Dean. So no, doesn't bother me that much.
Interesting. Is that what you're doing? One lineup tonight, Chop? You're not having fun? Typically, you have some fun when you're on the slate. No fun? One lineup?
I'm going to do one on DraftKings, and then I'll do 150 on FanDuel.
Okay.
In their big contest, but I'll do one on DraftKings. Dean, I got to change it up on DraftKings. I can't do 150. I haven't been winning, man. I got to change it up. I got to do, when you're not winning, you got to find something to break that You can't just sit here and bleed money all year long. Got a long summer ahead of us, so got to try to figure something out. Maybe hand build one a night, one a slate, and see if I can't hit nothing.
Derek and Chad, 3-entry GPP. Should I lock Bradley on all 3 lineups? I don't think you should lock Bradley. I mean, unless you have this great conviction. I don't think any of us have great conviction about Bradley, but I think he's certainly somebody that I would get on probably at least one. Taylor, is that something you would do if you have a certain conviction? I don't think I'd lock him on all 3.
No, I think that's slate dependent. Like last night, I would have locked Cease on all 3, but tonight I would not do that. Generally in 3 max, I like to make the 3 as different as possible from each other. So tying your wagon entirely to Taj Bradley at Fenway is not something I would do today.
You have 3 different paths. Chop, anything distinctly different on FanDuel? Frambar is what, 9-2, so he's distinctly cheaper than Lopez, distinctly cheaper than Houck, cheaper than Morton, cheaper than Bradley. It's obviously a different build. He's a QS guy also. You want that QS on FanDuel. If he pitches 5-6 innings, theoretically, he's better positioned to get a W than basically anybody else on the slate. There's no guarantee. You don't need the W, but we'll take it. We'll take those win points. Sure, why not? Valdez is the most popular pitcher on FanDuel at 25%. Then it kind of thins out. 14% for Lopez. Obviously, you're only rostering 1 here. 11% for Lance Lynn. That's just price, right? 7-1. He's the cheapie du jour over there. Morton at 8%, Houck 8%. You're kind of overspending on those guys. Bradley at 7. John Gray, really no discount either, 7%. Chop, what are you doing anything different over here? Are you kind of in line with those percentages? Anything way over or way under?
Let me see here. Let me look at. I would say, not really. Not really. I don't. It's a 150, Dean. Let's be honest. I'm not really sitting there digging into it. I'm just gonna throw some stuff in the lineup HQ and hope it hits. Maybe I'll run some SimLabs or something. I don't know. I'm not really. I'll probably be on par on the field with Framber and overweight on a couple of other guys, and then that'll be it. I'll call it the day on pitching over on FanDuel.
Taylor, you're running 20 on DK. Is that what you typically do? You're on mute, sir.
I sure am. 20 and then another 20 in that $3 lottery just for fun.
Have you figured out your pool? You're still kind of whittling down amongst the 14. How many are still standing?
Let's see. Let me narrow it down real quick and see what happens. Expecting a lot of Framber, obviously. Let's see. Lance Lynn. Tanner Houck is coming in as my number 2 behind Framber, Lance Lynn 3rd. And then kind of a smattering of Gray, Bradley, Webb. Not as much Canning as I thought, which is something that I'm happy to see, but not.
What's a smattering? Smattering
10%?
10%? Smattering's 10%? 8%?
15 and below of Gray, Bradley, Webb, etc.
Okay. What if 5%? That's like a pinch?
A smidge?
Smidge?
Yeah. Smidge
Okay.
sounds good.
Just want to get this out there. Jim in chat wants to know, help him out here, Taylor. 10 lineups. What pitchers would you use the most if you have 10 lineups tonight?
Framber obviously would be number 1. I do think Houck is a perfectly fine number 2 at a similar salary, just because what else are you going to do? And then John Gray would probably be my 3rd.
I was trying to see if anything kind of popped up as far as lineups that have changed my mind throughout the day, but Atlanta, no Acuna and no Riley. That's just more hurts the Atlanta stack. I don't think I'm going to get to Assad either way. I know he's got a great ERA this season, and good for him. Congratulations. But it's pretty lucky, if kind of fluky. In 42 innings, he's got a 1.7 ERA. The announcer is going to be like, wow, this guy's an all-star. But he's been super lucky. And, homer in the fly ball stuff is 4%. His BABIP's 244. Left on base is 85%. So he should come crashing at some point. But yeah, it's just more than anything. It's just like Atlanta's stack gets weakened. Harris is going to be really popular. We talk about hitters soon enough because he's now leading off for the Braves. We should mention again, we're going to be spinning that wheel momentarily. You want to get in to get yourself a week free. Get a week free of RG Premium. All the tools we're showing off here on the screen. Access to all the articles as well, not just baseball, football, basketball, baseball, hockey, WNBA. That's happening this year. You can get that a la carte if you want just WNBA stuff. I believe it's $30 a month. Shout out to Kyle Murray. Kyle Murray took down second last night. RG contributor. Second, in part thanks to I think Jamino's the one doing that. I think it's several people actually doing the projections for WNBA. So congrats to him. And yeah, you get yourself a week free if you just put your name on the wheel. How do you get your name on the wheel? Well, you go to the Discord channel, RotoGrinders.com/Discord, and go to where producer Steve has the post. Click the avatar, and there you go. All right. So I don't know, Steve, are we ready for that? Or do we need a few minutes? I suppose we can take another minute or so while you're compiling names. I know it's a little bit tricky to do this on the fly, but typically do it at the end of the show, but we decided to front load this a little bit more. And that's kind of where we're at right now. But Steve, what are we doing here?
Yeah, just give me one more minute to get the last few names in.
All good. No worries. Okay. We're going to be doing our tiers in a second. We'll have the chat chime in on this and see if anything kind of lands. We're doing NBA nicknames, player nicknames. Give us the best and worst NBA player nicknames. Let us know what we have in the chats. We're going to drop our tiers in a second when we're ranking our stacks. Crunch time coming in about 40 minutes or so. We got Kevin Roth, like we said, SquirrelPatrol. Squirrel was so anxious to talk a little bit of content to give the people the winners. He actually jumped in. Taylor, you weren't there. He jumped in for our show. He thought he was a little sketch on mishap. He thought he was ready to go at 5 o'clock, but that's how excited Squirrel is to talk about tonight's 7-gamer. You also get Dave Potts, Cheeseisgood, round 2 for him. All right. Let's give a little summary as far as arms. Taylor, I know people have been, we're kind of repeating ourselves, but somebody just joined the show like 2 minutes ago. They don't have time to listen to an hour and a half, 2 hours of this stuff. So they want the summary. Give them the summary as far as arms.
I think Framber Valdez is probably good chalk on this slate just because it's Oakland. He's reasonably priced and should have a pretty long leash like you were alluding to. Bullpen should be pretty taxed. So I think he's a good play. After that, it's kind of just whatever you want. Charlie Morton, fine. Pablo Lopez, if you have the money, is okay. I don't think he's going to murder you. But, he's not cheap, and it's the Yankees, so plenty of downside there. Also, the weather. That's the diciest weather game on the slate. Lynn, Houck, Gray, kind of all fine. I think Houck would be the safest of that group, quote unquote, but it's not like I have a ton of faith in him. And then Griffin Canning, if you want to fully punt on DK at SP2, I think is okay. But yeah, it's a lot of there's not really any clarity beyond Framber at the top.
Yeah, Houck's done a pretty good job as far as control. Just 3.8% walks is pretty awesome. The Ks are pretty good, almost 24%. Not giving me any homers, basically at all. I think just one home run in 52 innings, 3% homer in the fly ball, but he's just not giving up fly balls either. He's keeping the ball on the ground a ton. Chop, anything you want to add there before we spin the old wheel?
Nah, he summed it up pretty good.
All right, Dynamite drop in. Steve, we're going to give away a week free of RG Premium. Do it that like button, subscribe. I don't know if we're giving away. It's just one today, Steve. I think it's just one, correct? Right.
Yeah, we're not even close to the amount of likes. We're only at 30 likes, people.
Do they want choppers, knockers, or not? Because I don't know. What's the official number we need for knockers, Chopper?
I mean, that's a pretty low bar. Maybe let's just go for 50 or so. I see, it looks like there's like 700 people watching.
Yeah.
Can we not just hit the like button, fellas? Come on now.
It's a pretty rough ratio. That's unfortunate. But let's give away a week free of RG Premium, Steve. Let's spin the wheel. Chopper's ringtone.
Gold model.
All right.
Congratulations. I'll shoot you a message over in the Discord.
Thank you, Steve. All right. Yeah, you'll juice them up. And I think I should say also it's kind of dealer's choice. If you want to get a week free of scores and odds, you can get that as well. But yeah, I just assume you'd want RG Premium, either or, whatever works for you. Just want to check it. Oh, the squad ride pick today, by the way, is I'm on the clock, guys. Have you guys ever been on the clock for picking the squad ride picks? Because there's a lot of pressure. But I got one in. We won yesterday, so worst case scenario, we go 1-1. I went with Britt. Britt picked a winner yesterday, so I went back to Britt. We got Philadelphia on the run line, like plus 105 or plus 110. taking on the gutless Mets. I'm sure producer Steve would love hearing that. But you guys ever have the privilege of leading the squad, Taylor or Chop?
I have not, unfortunately.
Never, Dean. But maybe one day I'll get up to that status. I will say this much, Dean.
Yeah.
Usually when Brent Devine has like a multi-unit play, like a 2-unit play or something, like he's really good. He's really, really good at that, man. You should probably tail that thing. He's actually pretty good. I give him a lot of crap about the whole Disney World thing and all that stuff, but he's pretty good at the whole sports betting deal.
You know what, Chop? And I'm not going to win forever. I understand at some point I'm going to lose, and it's my responsibility. With great power comes great responsibility, and it's up to me to pass the baton. And Chop, if you want to be upgraded, like either one of you, whoever wants it, you can. I can pass it on whenever we fall, or whenever I pick a loser. It's yours. So
baseball and the intel into basketball are probably not my forte, so I wouldn't want to steer y'all in the wrong direction. But come back to me in September with a little college football. I'll get you on the right track.
Well, you're picking somebody else's pick. So
really? Oh,
do you not know how this works? Did you not get the tutorial?
I've been fishing. I've been fishing for a while now, man. I don't know how the squad rides work. You guys send me the email. Send me the email how it breaks down.
One of you guys are next up. Just a heads up. I'm going to pick one of you two. Taylor, I don't know if you're anxious to partake, but either one of you. There you go. It's on the screen right there for Britt's squad ride pick. Let's we saw some nicknames being thrown out in chats. I don't think any of these actually were used. The Glove, Gary Payton, that's a good one. Linsanity, sure. Clyde the Glide. What are we
doing nicknames for now? We need to get to the chart first before we start talking about nicknames.
Well, yeah, but I just wanted to see what they volunteered some of their favorites, and I wanted to see if any would match up, but none of them happen to match up. There's so many to pick from. None of them that are being thrown out there. Born Ready, Lance Stevenson. I forgot about that one. Yeah. Akeem the Dream. Sure, of course. But we kind of came up with this together, which is strange. Typically, it's like one person that makes the board, but we had a little group chat about it before the show very briefly, and Chop threw out the idea. He threw out some names, and we had a little fun with it, bounced back and forth. And Chop, I think was it Chop or is it Taylor? Who lobbied for Dr. J to be number one? I think it was Taylor.
I think it was Steve.
Yeah, I was a proponent of Dr. J for sure.
Oh, okay. No. Yeah, he said. I said, who did I have at first? I mean, I was just throwing stuff.
You had Iceman, I believe. George.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Dr. J.
Iceman. Also solid.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, Dr. J is a great name. Iceman, great nickname too. Like the whole thing that brought this up, Dean, was because you said something. You know what you did? You had your Joker thing last night. Your Joker rankings.
Yeah.
And it got me thinking, like, Joker. What a terrible nickname for Jokic. Like, why Joker? Because
you know why? It's because his last name. If his name is like
because Smith, it sounds like it's spelled like his like that's no good, man. It's got like look at Dr. J is Iceman. Like who the hell wouldn't want to be called the Iceman for the rest of their lives? Like
that's a cool. Though was George Gervin? I just know he was
Iceman. Guy. Are you kidding me? How cool is the finger roll? Cool, dude.
Oh yeah, but was he cool? I think ice in the veins. Like he takes the shot at the last second. With
let's talk about you and some of the names they're throwing out in chat. Fantastic stuff going on there. Agent Zero, incredible nickname for Gilbert Arenas. Chocolate Thunder, White Chocolate, Jay Will. Oh man, he was one of my favorites when he was playing. Like even Air Jordan, like it seems so simple now, but at the time, Air Jordan, because like he was the predominant dunker. He could fly, man, when he first came in the league. Like all these great nicknames back in the day. And what do we got? Joker, because it sounds like Jokic.
He's kind of jokes around. He clowns around a little bit. He has a good time.
Do we have the answer on our board?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. The answer. You know who reminds me of Allen Iverson a little bit these days? Allen Iverson got the nickname the Answer, which is a great nickname. Like the Answer, the Truth, those guys from that era, great nickname. The guy that reminds me of Allen Iverson needs a little bit, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. What do we give him?
Yeah.
SGA, his damn initials. What happened to the game I love, Dean? What happened to the game I love? All we're doing.
Do you have an official nickname? Does he even have one? I don't know if he does.
Ant-Man.
Not that I know of. Ant-Man is the worst. I think that should have been at the bottom.
What about outside of the first 3 letters of his name? What is Ant-Man? How do we describe this guy as Ant-Man? Come on.
He looks like John Cusack. Is that, no, not John Cusack.
So lazy
the guy that plays Ant-Man.
We're so lazy with the nicknames these days. I guess we've run out of
Paul
nicknames.
Rudd.
Paul Rudd. Yeah, I always think of those guys. It's kind of similar. Yeah. He doesn't look like Paul Rudd either. Either one of those two. But Mr. Glass being thrown out there, but that's like been, Anthony Davis has stayed healthy the last several seasons, and like he's kind of shaken that. I will stand up for Anthony Davis. He's been a lot healthier these past few days.
My guy Mitchell Robinson on the Knicks is the new Mr. Glass.
I think it's is it Lively, the guy that starts for Gafford. Gafford is always getting hurt. That dude is always going to the locker room. He was getting hurt in Washington. What was the guy? Porter he kept getting injured. He kept going to the locker room. Jonte Porter. I don't know if it was injuries, but he definitely was leaving the game for injuries as well. Several people asked in chat who the answer was. That is Allen Iverson, the custodian, of course. Job, you know the custodian. I think this was a Taylor special. Do you remember this one or no? Maybe we can get producer Steve to throw up a picture of the custodian because nobody asked why he's called the custodian. I don't think. Brian Cardinal, you remember Brian Cardinal? Chop, I'm sure you do. Back in the college.
Yeah, Stanford great.
Yeah,
he was? I didn't even know that he was named after the team. It's amazing.
Wait, Stanford is called
the Cardinal.
Yeah, but he's the custodian. He's not the Cardinal.
But his name's the Cardinal.
Goodness, Dean.
I'm so confused.
I didn't know he played for Stanford, and his name is also Cardinal. I thought that was a fun fact.
Oh, I got you. Okay, yeah. Okay, now I realize what you're saying. I thought you were talking about the nickname. I'm like, no, his nickname is not the Cardinal.
Yeah, he might have went to Purdue. I don't know. I might just be mixing up my smart schools. I'm not sure.
Mixing up your old white NBA players.
Yeah, true. They all look the same.
Who was the fourth? Oh, you didn't like Ant-Man. You were vehement. You were passionate about this one, Taylor. What is your issue with Ant-Man?
I just think it's lazy because his name's Anthony. He's Ant-Man. Like it could have been Anthony Davis. It could have been any other Anthony, and it's just Ant-Man. I don't know. I feel like we have a very low bar for nicknames these days, and I feel like a player that exciting should have a good nickname. I don't think it should be that hard to come up with something better than that.
What should it be? Well, maybe the chat can come up with a good nickname.
It's hard for me. But it shouldn't be hard for the masses to come up with something better than Ant-Man.
He should be Baby Jordan because, that's Michael Jordan's son.
Yeah, that was already ruined. That was before your time, Steve. But
Dean, speaking of that, I actually got into a rabbit hole one day because these guys, they do look alike physically, their characteristics. Anthony Edwards, Michael Jordan. And I was like, where was Michael Jordan at? I forgot, I did the whole Edwards birthday, then backtracked it to the possible conception days and all that other stuff. I think Jordan might have been in the neighborhood of where Anthony Edwards was born.
Really?
I don't know, man. But they do have a lot of characteristics that are very similar.
Okay. I have not gone down that rabbit hole, but I will take your word for it. Allegedly, back in the day, Jordan did have every single city he was in. He had different phones or different. Yeah, so who knows? That's a whole other rabbit hole to get into. But he does show flashes for sure. And Harold Miner, good nickname if he was spectacular, but he wasn't. My Miami Heat, he wasn't very good. He couldn't shoot. Of course, he thrived. I think he thrived at USC. I think he was a Trojan, right? I'm pretty sure. But there you go. He's down in the doldrums as far as our power rankings. But that's anything else as far as nicknames, anything else we're seeing? What was Barry Sanders' nickname being asked in chat? Did he have a nickname, Barry Sanders? I feel like he should have. I don't know if he did. Did Barry Sanders have a nickname? It's strange if he didn't. Anybody got anything?
Let's see.
I guess we can type it in
the
anything.
Machine.
Yeah. Jerry West,
weird.
the logo. Paul Pierce, the truth. I know Chop referenced that one as well.
The microwave. What about the microwave? Was a good nickname.
Who's that?
Yeah.
Vinny Johnson.
Oh.
I mean, Vinny Johnson wouldn't be the 13th man on the worst team in the NBA in 2024. It's just wild how the league has changed.
That's
Producer
not
Steve
fair.
just does
That's
pretty
not
good
fair,
evidence.
Dean. That's
It's
not
just
fair.
true. That's
It's
a
not
fact.
fair, though. I mean, that goes for any sport. Like it's just the way it's just the way the human nature has progressed over the last 40 years.
It's probably not fair, but it's still true. KG, the big ticket. That's
again, Dean, it's a very lazy take, just like these nicknames these days. You guys are all on your social media all day. You're getting lazy, Dean.
Yeah, we need to bring great nicknames back, like Head Chopper.
Or Patty the Tooth. That's a good one.
Taylor, I saw your Twitter handle is Bojangles. And I'm like, what is that? You a big fan of chicken? Is there an origin story on that?
There isn't. I just couldn't come up with a Twitter name, and I thought it sounded funny, so on it went. I've never actually had Bojangles, but it is expanding to this area, so I will partake at some point.
Big Meat Pete Alonso, of course, was we do the baseball nicknames. We will certainly acknowledge his presence. With that said, let's do it. Let's rank the teams. Let's put them in the appropriate tiers. Very first game we're going to talk about, it's the Rays and the Red Sox. 8.5 is a total. Bradley versus Houck. Pitchers, umpire for those that care. Taylor, I'll let you set the board first. Where are we putting Tampa and Boston?
I think they're going to be closer to the bottom, closer to Ant-Man. Probably both of them in Ant-Man for me. I guess if you want to go against the ownership of Bradley or Houck, because they will probably both be somewhat popular, I could see it. And it's Fenway, so I don't think they're bad stacks. They're not at the very bottom in the Baby Jordan division, but certainly not core stacks for me today, and I'm probably not going to get to either in like a single entry type situation.
Any issues with that, Chop?
Let me see where I have them ranked here. Tampa.
You do a pre-show ranking? You rank them all yourselves already? Like you don't do it on the fly?
No, I don't do it on the fly.
Oh.
Yeah, I've got. Oh, you know what? I've got Boston. Yeah, I could live with that one for Boston, and for Tampa, I had them in that same tier also. So yeah, that's about it. That's about right. That's where I got them.
All right. I'll come in like when we need to break a tie or something like that. It's a democracy, but if you guys agree, we'll just move on. Cubs, Atlanta, Assad versus Morton. 8.5 is the total. Again, kind of a funky lineup for Atlanta. Harris leading off with Do Acuna, Albies, Ozuna up to the 3-hole. Olsen breaking out of his slump yesterday. Darno, Duvall, Arcia, Kelnick, Zach Short. The Cubbies, Tauchman, Suzuki, Bellinger, Morel, Bush, Master Bueno, and Madrigal, Crow Armstrong, and Yan Gomes. Chop, you're on the board. Cubs and Atlanta. And Steve is playing his own game. Just as don't force him. You don't feel like you have to agree with him, but he's also playing the home version, and he might be correct.
Okay, Atlanta. All right, so this was my pre-show thought process. We had them a level up, but then the lineup is a little bit watered down. So maybe the custodian is the right tier for Atlanta. Although I'll be playing some of those guys because now some of the cheaper guys get a little bit of bump in the order. So, but that's fine. And then the Chicago one was, as much as I don't want to play Charlie Morton, I kind of also don't want to stack against him. So maybe Chicago, I have him a level down into Ant-Man territory, but I can live with either or.
What do you got, Taylor?
Yeah, I agree about Atlanta. They should have been in the answer tier probably, but the lineup puts them down in custodian for me too. I had Chicago a little higher. I'd probably put them custodian also. Morton's probably going to be somewhat owned, so I don't mind going against him. They have 5 lefties in the lineup, and he's been pretty mediocre against lefties on the season. I don't hate the idea of looking their way kind of as a contrarian stack, so custodian's fine for me for the Cubs.
2 points for producer Steve, who nailed it. He put Atlanta and Chicago in custodian. That's where we're going to keep them. Some more nicknames being thrown out there in chat. The refrigerator, of course, White Chocolate, Sean Marion. He was the Matrix, right? Grandmama, Larry Johnson, Big Baby, Plastic Man, Stacey Ogman.
Big Baby's in jail now, isn't he?
Oh yeah, he did some kind of tax. No, it wasn't tax fraud.
He was like stealing from the NBA retirement plan. Yeah, something kind of insurance thing.
Yeah.
Boy, did he not make enough money, man, in his playing days? Like, so weird.
Did you ever see? You've seen broke before, right? The 30 for 30. All the players that these things happen. Chop. You've done. I imagine you've done well, winning a couple $1 million, and you've been all right. But sometimes people spend above their means, even if their means is even if they haven't a bunch of money. That just happens sometimes. Did you watch the 30 for 30, Chop? You know what I'm talking about, right?
I do not. I did not watch that one. No.
Did you ever watch the series? Are you aware of the series that existed? I think it still exists on ESPN.
Yeah, there's some good ones, but I didn't see the one about going broke. No.
Nigerian Nightmare Christian Okoye, not a basketball player, but a good nickname being thrown out there, nonetheless. All right, let's talk about the Yankees. Minnesota taking on Pablo Lopez. Minnesota taking on Stroman. 8 is the total, kind of a paltry total. We have a slight favorite, actually, kind of a big, somewhere in the middle. A favorite in Minnesota at minus 138. Yankees are a dog here. Stroman versus Lopez. I believe, Taylor, this is your board. Well, I will hold reservations, but Taylor, go for it. Yankees, Twins.
Yeah, I'm going to put them both in Baby Jordan today. Not really dying to play against Lopez, although I understand why you would play the Yankees today. They're going to be completely unowned. The Twins against Stroman. I never loved playing against Stroman anyway with his ground ball stuff, even if he's not a huge strikeout guy. I'm really not getting to either of these teams at all in terms of stacks, so they're at the bottom for me.
Interesting. Chopper?
Shout out. Juggalo Nation is in the chat. Chris Kirkwood's in the chat, so I give him a shot. I can live with that, Dean. That's fine. I had 2 good pitchers. I don't really want to stack against them.
I thought you were saying you can live with Kirkwood calling you frugal. I thought that's what you can live with. But
no, if that's an insult, then so be it.
I mean, like, it's smart. There's a different way of interpreting that. But I can't believe both these teams are in Baby Jordan. I'm kind of shocked. You guys are not a fan of the old leverage, I suppose. Yankees are one of the best teams.
So, Dean, let me ask you this: How much leverage do you really need if you're playing one lineup and you're playing? It depends on what you're playing, I guess. Like, if we're basing this
150 on FanDuel.
If we're basing this off of a $4 entry fee and you're having to deal with 100,000 other teams, then sure, I get it. But for me, I'm kind of basing this off of one lineup on DraftKings, and this is kind of where I have them at. The FanDuel, I'm just throwing stuff at the wall, Dean. I'm not really worried about that too much.
I can see Yankees being in Ant-Man at least. I don't mind that if you want to move them up a little bit.
Chop, if you were frugal, you wouldn't just throw money at the wall, though. So that's a contradiction. It doesn't sound like you care about if you lose money on FanDuel. So,
yeah. FanDuel is just kind of there. It's just my account ready to be fired up for the football season. So I'm just goofing around. That's just goofing around, Dean. That's just playing games with it.
I just think the Yankees, like, I'm making a couple main lineups and then just a couple more to goof around in, and for sure I'm going to have one, like, just in case the Yankees do their thing. I know Lopez is great, good K guy. I know he's backed up by a good bullpen, but there's certainly a chance that things get squirrely. And then if you're not going to bring the best bullpen guys if it's 9-1 in the 6th inning or something like that, and if that blows up the slate, so be it. And it's going to blow up all the Lopez lineups. So it's again but like you say, Chop, it's not my first lineup. So if you're coming at it from that perspective, I understand what you're saying. But I'm going to have one, like, just in case the Yankees do their thing. And I like Julian a good bit as, like, even like a one-off for Minnesota taking on Stroman. You want lefties against them. I know he's more of a ground ball guy, but I think Julian's an interesting one-off for Minnesota. Don't mind Larnick either if you want a little midi stack, which I have not built my lineups just yet. I do them after the show while listening to the crunch time. Let's move on. We have, I think, 4 more games. Cleveland's taking on Texas, 9 total. Gray versus Carrasco. Chop, it's your board.
Texas, I have them in the I see Steve put them in Dr. J, but I have them a level below that. I have them in the answer. Just because sometimes, a lot of games recently, Texas, who I think is a really good offense, but they are a little bit banged up. They have been rather gutless, according to the definition of it lately. So I'm going to put them down in the answer. Cleveland.
What is the definition of gutless?
Well, did you know Kirk Deese has a new article? And if you want to know the definition, Chris, Chris Kirkwood, please drop a link to your new article, man. The Gutless Rankings. He's got it on RGD. I don't know if
Is that behind the paywall, or is I've heard there was rumblings?
That's a good question. That was a good question. I don't know, but
Can't
definitely.
Premium, can it?
I saw a little snippet of it today. It's definitely there. If he wants to drop a link to it, it'll give you the definition and everything. But so I'm going answer for Texas. I think they're good, just not great. I'm gonna go with Ant-Man for Cleveland because I think John Gray's okay. I don't even mind like stacking against him in some situations, but Cleveland's just not. There's nothing exciting about like what do they bring to? They got Jose Ramirez. After that,
Josh Naylor,
not really. He's okay for me, but I just think the general depth of that lineup is pretty bad. So I'm never gonna rank them very high.
Taylor.
I think I would bump them both up one level. Texas under the answer under Dr. J, just because Carrasco, I think him being horrible outweighs the Rangers being gutless. If there's anywhere to get right, it's against Carlos Carrasco. And Cleveland probably in the middle at the custodian level. Gray against lefties over the years has been kind of attackable. They are pretty lefty heavy. I think they have 6 of them in the order today. So fine YOLO stack for Cleveland, not a core play at all, but Rangers will be at the top for me.
By the way, Alicia Hernandez is starting for the Dodgers. Is he stretched out? Was he called up in the minors? Was he in the bullpen? I'm trying to find it out.
Minors.
So is it possible he's going to pitch like a fair amount of pitches? And is he crazy cheap? These are my questions. Just seeing this now for the first time. He's 9.3 on DK. Whoa. Okay. Chill out, DraftKings. That's okay. So that makes it easy, right? We're not playing him.
3.
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought he might be like 4 or 5K. And like, okay, let's explore a little bit more. But all right. I don't know what he is on FanDuel, if he's even in the pool. By all means, somebody in chat let us know, or I don't know, Chop, if you're on top of that. But did want to note that we did get an official Dodgers lineup as well. Betts, Ohtani, Freeman, Smith, Muncy, Teoscar Hernandez, Lux, Pages, and Outman. So pretty standard lineup there. Okay.
Dean, we need you to tie break Texas and Cleveland.
I'm gonna let's Taylor. I think Taylor said Texas and Dr. J. Is that where Taylor was at? Yeah. Cleveland's. I'll keep them where they're at. I think they're mini stack territory for me. It's just like Chop says. There's a couple of guys you like. Not all runs are created equal. When they put up 7 runs, it's still like, where are my fantasy points? Like, it's J-Ram and it's Naylor and kind of nobody else. And it's also annoying on DK. At least you can't roster the cheap first baseman and Naylor because they're both first base only. All right. Let's move on. I think Chop, it's your board. I'm pretty sure. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. Kind of bouncing back and forth. Oakland. Yeah, Chop, you got the Astros. The Astros taking on Oakland. Astros minus 250 favorite taking on Aaron Brooks, who is not a prospect. He is a retread, a veteran, just desperately eating some innings here. Did also want to mention another thing I kind of pointed out yesterday, the best relief pitcher in all of baseball, Mason Miller, threw 2 innings in an extra inning game. I cannot imagine the A's would throw him out there again tonight. That just seems like a terrible idea. He has pitched back-to-back a couple times this year, but never after pitching multiple innings in one game. He's theoretically going to get moved at some point because he's a prized arm. So I'd imagine they would not push him tonight. We'll see. But just one more reason to like Houston a little bit more, at least for me. Mason Miller probably not coming in that bullpen tonight. Chop, Oakland and Houston.
So I would say Oakland is dead in the middle of the custodial territory to me, just because the leverage you talked about with Lopez and some the leverage is on Framber. Not only is he the highest owned, but man, can he be really poor sometimes? Like he has a lot more history of absolutely no showing in a game than Lopez or Marcus Stroman. So I put him dead in the middle there. And for the Astros, that's the only team. Spoiler alert. That was my only personal Dr. J level team right there. I don't. Sometimes that lineup is rather gutless themselves, but Yeah, this is the matchup, man. This is definitely the matchup they can get into here. In fact, I like some of those cheaper guys at the bottom of that order tonight.
Are we getting a homer from Loperfido? I feel like he has yet to hit one, right?
Like the dude, major league pitching, man, is a lot tougher than minor leagues. The guy was on fire in the minors. He hasn't done, but the numbers aren't all that bad, actually. When you look at the underlying, he hasn't hit a home run yet, but you look at the underlying numbers, there's still something there. So if he just needs to come across a pitcher that he can avoid the strikeouts, I think this might be the one. So I think that's one of the guys I was pointing at for $2,600 that could possibly get there tonight.
Yeah, I mean, Aaron Brooks is just a major league pitcher in uniform only. 32, 34 years old, journeyman, KBO, 16% strikeouts historically in the majors. This is not a major league pitcher. Things certainly cannot work out, but this seems like more Loperfido's speed for sure. DeBone is in there, and no Singleton, by the way. Singleton did not crack the lineup, and Cabbage also in there too. So a couple of their more nonsense players did crack the lineup. What do we have here, Taylor? We got Dr. J in Houston. Are you good with that? And Oakland is right there in the middle, hanging out with Brian Cardinal, the custodian.
Yeah, no complaints about the Astros. I think they're very obviously at the top. Oakland, I would probably move down. I get the leverage thing just because Framber is going to be super popular, but me personally, outside of a 150, I probably wouldn't really get to them a whole lot. So probably Ant-Man for Oakland for me.
Got to break the tie, huh? I'm going to stick with Chop on this one because I do think there's an argument you made, like picking on the best pitcher on the slate or most owned pitcher on the slate, and Oakland does have some power. The only counter to that is that Framber just does not give up many home runs. I'm pulling up Eliezer Hernandez's game log. I'm trying to see when he last pitched and how many baseballs he threw. Let's see, May 8th, he went 5 2/3. May 2nd, he went 5 innings. So he's, I guess, fully stretched out and good to go. Okay, yeah, and that's why they were asking about somebody disappeared from the projections. Yarborough. Yarborough, I imagine, is no longer opening. So there you go. Is he in play on FanDuel? Do we know his price? If he's really cheap over there, I guess he'd be kind of somewhat interesting. But Chop, have you dug into that by chance?
Well, no, it just happened during the show. I haven't. What's his name?
Eliezer Hernandez. I'm pulling it up now.
I don't see anything right now, so I have no idea.
Okay. All right. We'll see if anything interests. But yeah, he is. I assume he's going to be like a standard 5-inning pitcher, assuming things are going fairly well for him. Okay, let's move on. Crunch time, 10 minutes away. We got crunch time coming in. If you have any questions in chat, by all means, throw them out there as well. See if there's anything we missed. Yeah, True North is asking about Yarborough scratched. Yeah, it does not appear Yarborough is going to be throwing baseballs tonight, at least not from the start. Taylor, question for you from Derek. DK tournaments, you want to finish an Atlanta stack. Do you want Arcia or d'Arnaud? I guess that depends upon other positions too. Okay, well, yeah, just Arcia or d'Arnaud. I'm not sure how that works, but that's the question.
I'll take d'Arnaud just because he's hitting a couple of spots in front of Arcia. I don't think either's a bad play. Arcia has pretty good numbers against righties this season, so both are fine, but I would lean d'Arnaud.
Okay. Still waiting for lineups from St. Louis. And did we just get the Angels or the Giants? I think something else just dropped on us also. Pulling it up here on the fly. Mike Conley, questionable. Levert not going through his normal pregame warm-up stuff. Yeah, tough scene for Cleveland. Okay, yeah, no lineup just yet for the Giants or the Cardinals or the Angels, but Cardinals, Angels, Taylor set the board. Lance Lynn versus Griffin Canning, 8.5 is the total. Basically a coin toss. The Cardinals slight favorite here on the road at -122. No lineups just yet.
I'm going to put St. Louis in the Dr. J section today. Canning's just been pretty bad. Strikeouts haven't really been there. St. Louis is kind of a good mix of affordable and expensive hitters. Maybe coming out of their season-long slump, hopefully, lately. Good park, too. They get a nice park upgrade tonight, so I'm getting to them a lot. I'm going to put the Angels in Ant-Man. The lineup is just so atrocious that it's hard to have faith in them. Lance Lynn is obviously a home run machine, but I'm probably going to be playing more Lynn than the Angels personally today.
Shop, are we good with this? Is Dr. J? Do we have the Cardinals? The stench of the Cardinals? Are they allowed to hang out with Texas and Houston?
Well, I'll say this much. I don't have them all the way up there, but my initial read on the DraftKings was, man, I can play Griffin Canning at this as price tag. I didn't like the other for SP2. Then I started digging and I was like, oh man, I can't play him. I like more Cardinals bats a lot more than I like Griffin Canning. So I don't hate where his love for the Cardinals, but I would have him a level lower than that. And for the Angels, I would be good with either, where they're at now, Ant-Man, or one category up, just because Lance Lynn's a one-trick pony, man, and he's just not very good at it anymore. So either or, that category or the custodian. But yeah, that's fine.
I agree with Chop. Let's throw St. Louis in the answer. We'll keep the Angels where they're at in Ant-Man. Chop, we got those knockers coming up. Do we have a BBP suggestion of the day by chance? Is that something you dug into?
Yeah, I can throw it out there.
All right. Several people. Oh, they're talking about Yarbrough being. Yeah, I mean he's still listed on DK as the possible long reliever. True North saying that's sketchy. Well, like as of a half hour ago, that was like the correct assumption. So I assume they're going to change that. Yeah, but like as a general rule, do not assume the sites have the most up-to-date information. Just know that FanDuel, DK, usually a little bit behind. They're going to be behind Twitter typically, but that's not. I wouldn't say that's sketchy. Because that was the thought process a half hour ago. Let's give them some time. Let's give them an hour. Okay, last game on the board. This is for Chop. It's the Dodgers. Dodgers taking on the Giants. We do have the Dodgers lineup. No Giants lineup just yet. Taking on the righty and Hernandez. Where do we want the Dodgers and the Giants, Chop? Logan Webb. He's pretty good throwing baseballs, but big ground ball guy as well.
The Giants, this, I don't know, kind of an unknown now. Like they switch pitchers here. I don't know if it makes any difference at all or if it makes a huge difference. It's kind of tough to say. So for the Giants, I'm just going to put them dead in the middle there, the custodian. I'm kind of like neutral on them. I have no idea. For the Dodgers, Dean, boom. Here we go, Dean. I'm putting the Dodgers in the answer. I'm putting the Dodgers in.
Oh, you said it like you was going to Dr. J. But okay.
It is how many slates are we going to come on and put the team going against Logan Webb that high on the board? Like that's a I think that's very, very contrarian tonight. So I'm going in that particular category because I'm feeling the Dodgers are going to get to him tonight.
Okay, so Dodgers in the answer, Giants in the middle with the custodian. Taylor, we good with that?
I agree on the Dodgers. I would move the Giants to Baby Jordan. Don't really like to pick on bullpen games in general, assuming this is kind of a bullpen game for them. Giants lineup is also kind of just trashy, and the park is bad. So
they'll do pitch hit stuff sometimes.
Yeah, I put them all the way at the bottom.
Producer Steve, he knows where to go. We put him in Ant-Man. It's kind of a compromise, not all the way down with Baby Jordan. And the Dodgers will keep him in the answer. Chop, I don't want to spoil the BBP suggestion of the day, but several people were talking about BBP for the Dodgers.
Oh, man, you guys, man.
I don't want look. They have access to your model apparently.
No, they don't. They're just throwing names out there, and
Alex Bregman, BVP, 4 from 5 with a homer against Aaron Brooks.
The model didn't pop him up because there's not enough at bats, but he's definitely man. Now you guys are spoiling all my good bits here for later on here, man.
Wait, I thought these weren't bits. Now you're saying they are bits? You told me in the past.
No, you said they're gimmicks. I said they're not gimmicks, they're bits.
The Alex Bregman game was probably like 8 years ago too. Like I don't know what had happened. I guess he faced him once. I don't know. Brooks there. I did pull it. Well, Chop, you want to give your BBP suggestion of the day?
You ready? How many likes we got here, man?
Not enough. It's been egregious. It's embarrassing stuff, but that's knocking on the door.
I would say for the BVP, yes. If I had to narrow it down to one guy that got spit out of the algorithm, it'd be Mookie Betts, but he's expensive. I'm going to say in general, the core of that Dodgers lineup, lots of strong BVP suggestions from the algorithm. So that's the stack right there, a little mini stack, little 3-4 man stack in that Dodgers middle of the or top of the order. So that's good stuff. I'll throw out some knockers for you too, Dean, because we talk about Bregman.
Yeah.
Not quite enough BVP sample size there to qualify here for a BVP suggestion of the day, but it's enough to lean me on. We get a combo platter here, Dean. We get Bregman, a little bit of prior history. That's fine. But also, even more so than that, what overweighs that even more is that he's on a hot streak now. Finally cranking out some home run. Cardi's favorite, metrics, hot streaks. He's cranking out some home runs. So he's going to be one of the knockers today. Who am I pairing him with? I'm going to try to go with a little power. So I'm going to go Yainer Diaz right there, and hopefully he can get on board against the right-hander. He's a reverse splits hitter anyway. He likes righties better than lefties, so maybe this will be his time to shine. So Bregman Diaz, a little knocker action for you.
All right, we are over 100 likes. I think that means that TJ hanging out in chat with Spidey. Spidey bombs will be dropping as well. Taylor, do you have a bit or a gimmick that's home run related, or just give guys that hit homers, or what is your spiel? I don't know if you have one. Feel free to come up with one on the fly.
Yeah, I need to come up with a shtick like Taylor's Tots, or I don't know. That sounds.
Well, Tots is already taken. Tim is probably hanging around. He's not going to like that. Tots is already.
Taters. Taylor's Taters. How about that?
Wait, hold on. Is it
Potato Family?
Is it Tim's Taters or Tim's? I'm thinking Tater Tots. I think Tots might be available. It is Tim's Tasteful Taters. All right. It's close enough. He might take you to court. There's a case to be made. I don't know.
Flee the country then.
Taylor's Torpedoes being thrown out in chats. Torpedoes,
tanks, perhaps.
Anything Bojangles, really? We can sort of tie it all in together. I don't know if we got anything that we can make that work, but
tenders. Yeah.
There you go. But do you have anybody that's going to homer? You got some home runs for the people?
Let's see. Mickey Moniak. Let's say Mickey Moniak for kind of a off the board pick there against Lance Lynn, and Nolan Gorman on the other side of the same game.
Are we sure Moniak's playing baseball? We're assuming, right? There's no lineup just yet.
Do you have a lineup on that? I don't know. Good question.
I don't know. He's probably playing baseball. Rough scene for Cleveland, by the way. LeVert, Allen, and Mitchell all just ruled out. I think the Celtics are like 15 or 16 point favorites. I mean, they weren't going to win anyway, but like not like this. Like, come on, at least let's give them a shot. Now it's going to be, oh man, it's going to be rough. It's going to be Garland's going to take like 97 shots for Cleveland tonight, but yeah, tough scene for Cleveland. Okay, crunch time should be coming in here shortly. Have you heard of Bojangles Bird Dogs? I don't know what that is. Do we know what that is?
We do not.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that is. I know it's a restaurant.
Oh, that's it, Dean. That's his bit. His Twitter handle. We're trying to do the Taylor thing. We go Bojangles Big Balls.
Oh,
big fly balls that leave the yard. Bojangles Big Balls. Let's do it.
I like it.
I'm on it.
I like
it. Do it.
It's a little wordy. I feel like it's a little wordy.
It's So
TJ is saying Tay's Bomb Jangles. Does anybody call you Tay?
My wife, not you, Dean.
Okay, I don't think we know each other well enough. I don't want to take any liberty. It's like the two and the Usted thing. I don't want to. Yeah, we're not close. I don't want to.
We're on an Usted basis for now. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Bojangle bombs. There you go. There's another one being thrown out there in the chat. We do have Crunch Time fully compiled. We have SquirrelPatrol. I believe Dave Potts, Cheeseisgood, as well as Kevin Roth. Cheap and Roth is Kevin Roth. I'm excited to hear about his day fishing. He alluded to it earlier. It was a teaser. We left on there was a cliffhanger the earlier show. Let's talk to Roth. Let's see how that turned out today. Chief Mineralogist Kevin Roth. I did speculate. I just speculated, but I thought you might be a little bit thirsty while fishing today. I feel like those two are like hand in hand. I don't know. How did fishing go today?
Are you implying that I would only fish drinking beer? Is that?
I thought it was like a package deal. Like otherwise, what else do you do? You just got to pole in the water and then what? Like what's the point?
You catch fish, Dean. Except in my case, I didn't catch fish, so I just sat there like a jackass for 2 hours. But it was still relaxing.
Did you have an anecdote of any sort? Did you get close and like it got away?
No, it was really embarrassing. The fish were there. I could see them and they were just ignoring me. So I quit after that.
All right. Fair enough. Dave, you want to save this fish story? You got a fish story, Dave?
I do not want to rain on Roth's fish parade. This is pretty exciting.
Squirrel, you got anything fish related?
No.
All right. Big gulps, huh? All right. Crunch time. Crunch time is here. Do hit that like button. Do subscribe. Do turn on those notifications. Do all those things to help us keep the lights on. If you want to get access to premium, links are in the description. However you want it, when as far as commitment, you want to commit to 6 months, you get yourself $250 off the regular price, as opposed to going month by month by month. You can get 1 month, $40 off, or just 3 days, 3-day commitment. You can get yourself a 3-day commitment for $19.99. Myself, Chop, Taylor, we appreciate y'all watching the first portion. Now let's close it out with Crunch Time. Roth, take it away.
Good stuff. Welcome to it, ladies and gents. You know the drill. We do it sometimes multiple times a day, like today. We're going to take you up 2 lock. We're going to take you through lock. And Dean was just hanging out there for a while. He couldn't find the goodbye button. We got 2 of the sharpest minds in the biz hanging with us here. We got Dave Potts. Cheeseisgood. What up, Cheese?
Not too much. It was an unexpected surprise and privilege and honor to have the squirrel with us.
It is.
It doesn't happen all the time, but every time it does, it's exciting.
It is. Squirrel, do you have like 19 live finals in the bag so far this year? Or where are we at?
It's gone up by a couple the last week or so, which is nice. So got the secured like a UFC seat. Those are only 15. But there's like a play down thing, so it goes from like 100 to 15.
Is that an actual live final?
Yeah. So it's in
Is
New
it
Jersey.
by any chance at the fights?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I was in the outside.
Okay. See, I didn't know that. I mean,
last
that's
year.
pretty cool. I don't play at all, but like that's a good idea.
Yeah, that sounds
I like
awesome.
It was like one of the more enjoyable ones because like the other live finals, you generally don't go to an actual game for the sport that is like you're at the live final for.
Sure.
Because there's
like,
15 other games going on other than the one that you would be watching. So it wouldn't really make sense.
Yeah. So UFC, it's like everything. It's like if they played all like 10 basketball games or 10 baseball games or whatever in the
right
same
there.
place, and you're there watching.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic. I will await my invite as the +1. Squirrel, how are you, man? How's life? How's everything going for you?
Good. Yeah, we got a good little slate here, kind of medium sized. Nothing like there's not a whole lot that jumps out on the slate. There's nothing like, oh, this team's got like a 6.5 implied run total, or this guy's gonna strike out 10 hitters or anything like that. So it's kind of just another baseball slate, but there's money to be made. So
Well, those can be fun because those are the ones where sometimes the host can have very different ideas about what direction to go. Right? I kind of like when there's nothing too chalky. So let's dive into it. Cheese generally like to lead us off with a little bit of catcher talk. Is that where we lead with catchers?
The people catching are catching. Who are they catching?
The pitchers, Cheese.
Yeah.
The pitchers. Let's.
You were
start
right there. You were
so close.
I thought you had it, honestly.
Yeah.
I've
I've only been doing this for 12 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk pitchers.
It's a pretty good pitching slate. And I think I generally agree with how the ownership's going to go. They're not my plays, but we're showing basically Framber Valdez is kind of the chalk, but not like a massive chalk, not like a 50% owned guy. And then just a whole slew of like 20% owned pitchers. Out of all this, I guess I would say you should play Valdez in cash. I don't really like him as a tournament play. Low strikeout guy like that on a slate with a bunch of pitchers who just strike out more guys than him. He does have a good matchup. That's why he's probably the cash game play. But to me, Pablo Lopez, even in a tougher matchup, is just so much better than Valdez that I'm starting with Lopez. And my second favorite pitcher by far is Taj Bradley. He's only second start off the IL, but it was very promising that he got over 90 pitches and looked fantastic in his first start. So I'm all over him. I would personally play him over Valdez in cash games. That's not the air quotes correct answer probably, but I like Lopez and Bradley. That's my go-to combo. On the FanDuel side, the pricing is a little more spread out, and it probably makes a little more sense to just go with Valdez in cash on FanDuel, whereas on DK, I don't think you need to. Tanner Houck, Charlie Morton, totally fine mid-tier plays, like upper mid-tier plays as well. And then if you need just slightly more savings than what you get with like Bradley or Morton, John Gray at 7,500 on DK. He ended up in more of my lineups than I wanted, just because those few bucks really matter a lot in trying to jam in some of these expensive teams. So the bulk of my pool is Lopez, Taj Bradley, and John Gray, which I did not expect John Gray to be that guy. It just worked that way. The only real cheap option on the slate is Griffin Canning. $5,500 for a guy that used to be good and still kind of in real life looked almost respectable the last 2 starts. I get it. I have 1 Canning lineup. I would love to have 0, but I mean, I'm stacking against him heavily. Like I think he's bad. And there aren't really that many spots you need the salary. So for the most part, John Gray is as low as I want to go.
Okay. Squirrel, your thoughts here at pitcher? Do you have same guys in the pool, different pool?
It is mostly the same pool because there's really not that many starting pitchers. Like there's only 14 guys that are going to start games today. And some of them like Aaron Brooks, the Dodgers, I think have a bullpen game. I think that's even up in the air, but I'm not even sure if the guy's available on FanDuel. And then, there's certain play, like I'm not going to go to Carlos Carrasco. So yeah, I think Griffin Canning is about as cheap as I would go, but I'm probably going to be over the field on Griffin Canning. That's actually my tag there. I mean, like 4% on FanDuel. If you're doing a bunch of lineups, if you're doing a 20 lineups, 10, like it's not hard to get over the field on 4%. It allows you combinations of things that you can't get to otherwise. Like Framber Valdez is like the most popular pitcher, about the most highest projected pitcher, but like he doesn't stand out by a lot on the slate. So I'm probably going to be under the field on like Framber Valdez, and over the field on some of the cheaper guys like Griffin Canning, like Logan Webb. Like you don't want to start guys against the Dodgers, but a little bit of like Logan Webb in super large field. And yeah, I'm trying to see anybody else. Like I'm getting like bits of like Marcus Stroman, bits of like Taj Bradley and Tanner Houck, but I kind of prefer that game for the offenses. And then it's Charlie Morton, John Gray, and I'm probably going to be under the field on Framber.
Okay. Did get a note here. Lopez is in the Minnesota game, which I should have mentioned is really the only game with any weather issues. But from what I'm seeing, I think it's dry for the first maybe half of the game or so. And then rain starts to move in. And I think at that point, it starts as light rain and it gradually builds into moderate rain. So maybe we've got issues, in the 8th or 9th inning. But I think pitcher-wise, you're probably good. And then hitter-wise, even if they do delay in the 8th or 9th inning, I assume they would wait it out, come back out, and finish it. So it's not perfect weather, but I certainly don't anticipate an early delay in Minnesota, so long as they play on time. So I don't think you have to fade pitchers there because of it. Does that work?
Perfect.
Yeah. Bottom line is I don't exactly know how it's going to work out, but I think it's going to work out. Okay. I guess we'll talk stacks. Squirrel, you can lead us off there.
Sure. So I think Houston is going to be the chalkiest stack in a way, like more so than Framber Valdez is going to be the chalkier pitcher, if that makes sense. I like Houston more than I like Framber Valdez. They pretty much, they kind of stick out. They are playing against Aaron Brooks, who has like participated in numerous professional sports leagues over the last like 2 decades or so. But
he's got some frequent flyer miles racked up for sure.
Yeah. But he's not pitched in the major league since 2022. He's pitched in AAA this year, but like not in a standout way. And it's Oakland. So it's not like, they're confident this is the best guy that's going to give him a win today. More like, okay, like he knows how to professionally like show up to the ballpark and throw a baseball. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think Houston stands out, and I'm probably more likely to spend up and need to chalk the stacks there. If you don't want Houston, I think Atlanta is in a pretty good spot. I kind of like the Tampa Bay Boston game. Just Tampa Bay is getting a big ballpark upgrade, hitting in Fenway tonight. And then also St. Louis and the Angels. I'm getting some of them. That's more savings, but I feel like every offense is kind of in play. Just like there's no like standout pitcher. I think even Oakland against Framber Valdez makes some sense. Because Oakland can act as a professional team of hitters, and Framber Valdez is going to be maybe more popular than he should be.
Yeah. Okay. We did get this note in, and I don't know if you guys saw this, but I believe Acuna is out. Is that?
Yeah, that line came out a while ago, so that's all factored in already.
Okay, great. Just checking. Cheese, your thoughts here on what we're doing with the bats?
Yeah, I think Houston is the chalk as well, but it's close as to how much I like them. I mean, I'll call them my top team, but Texas is a very close second for me, and then Atlanta is a very close third. And those three are my top three pretty comfortably. It's just a matter of salary. Like it's tough to jam them in with the expensive bats. So that's why I'm getting to more St. Louis and then a lot of sprinkles of just kind of cheap mini stacks. This is another one of those slates. We've had a lot of these recently where nobody's playing the Dodgers. So play the Dodgers. Like Logan Webb is great, but they're the Dodgers. He's not that great. So even if I had 5 lineups, I would have a Dodger stack in there. Like Swirl said, really everything is playable, even against the good pitchers. I mean, you can play some Yankees against Pablo Lopez. You can play certainly Guardians lefties against John Gray. You can play the Cubs. I don't think there's anything at all that's off the table.
Yeah. Okay. That sounds good. Just kind of looking at some of the questions. I think we're good to dive into things now, Cheese. Now we can talk about catcher if you'd like.
I've just been waiting. Ever since you said it, that's all I've been thinking about, honestly.
I believe. Hey, some people are asking, Brendan says, are we still expecting Yarbrough for Dodger long relief? And is that viable?
I mean, I wouldn't say it's viable to play him in DFS. He's probably going to pitch tonight, but like it's far from a sure thing that he pitches at all. And if he does, maybe it's 3 innings and he's not that good. So I don't know why you'd do it personally.
Yeah. Okay. Just checking.
Yeah. It's definitely no guarantee that he pitches, but more likely than not, he pitches 3 innings.
Okay. Yeah.
I think the guy that is starting is like prohibitively expensive on DraftKings. Like,
he's $9,300. Like when they called him up, I was kind of excited because I thought he'd be 4K. I'd play him at 4K. Eliezer Hernandez. He's $9,300, which is bonkers. So just no Dodger pitching tonight.
Yeah. Okay. Let's dive back into the bats here. Cheese, start with some catcher talk.
Yeah. So every position is really pretty good. I think you don't really need to spend up on Will Smith outside of stacks. I like probably Logan O'Hoppe and Yainer Diaz the most. Travis d'Arnaud as well in that sort of 4K range. Ivan Herrera's my favorite cheap play. And that's really all I want to mention.
Okay. Squirrel, any other names you want to mention?
Yes. Maybe not. I think maybe Ronnie Jeffers. And Travis d'Arnaud is hitting a little bit higher in the lineup than he does normally. I think usually he's in like the 6th or 8th spots. And then Shea Langoliers, I think, is a good.
Shea who? That I don't know who that is.
Langelier. Thank you. Yeah.
Good call.
Yeah. French version is the only acceptable version.
Yeah. I think he's probably the last, like the lowest down catcher I'd maybe aim to get to as like a one-off.
Yeah. Okay. How about first base?
First base. So I think Shohei Ohtani and Matt Olson are going to be the top guys. Matt Carpenter likely leading off for St. Louis. I don't think the lineup is out yet. Sorry, bye. But yeah, he's by far the best value on DraftKings. And then Kyle Manzardo, I think, is also, he's like 2,200. And if you are looking for savings for Cleveland, I think that's the place you can go to against John Gray.
Okay, Cheese.
Yeah, I like Matt Olson the best. I mean, I like Ohtani better if salary is not a thing, but salary is a thing. I think even Olsen's a little tough to get to in a lot of my lineups. So Nate Lowe is my highest owned first baseman. I've got Carpenter a little more at third. I'm fine with Manzardo as a cheap guy. I've also got some Nolan Chanuel, who's, I assume, French, probably leading off for the Angels.
Okay. I think French is a good assumption.
It's incredible that the French team doesn't win the Olympics every
Yeah.
time they play.
With so many good players. Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah.
All right. How about second base, Cheese?
So the three teams that I love all have a great second baseman, that being Altuve, Semien, and Albies. I slightly lean Semien 1, Albies 2, and Altuve 3, but I really I love spending up here because I love all three of those guys. And even Andres Jimenez is a pretty great play. The only cheap play I really like that I think is pretty popular is Nolan Gorman. Everything else is just in a stack. That's really it. The three spend ups, maybe Jimenez in the Cleveland stack, or save with Gorman, and that's it.
Okay. Squirrel, your thoughts a second?
Yeah, just Mookie Betts is a second baseman on FanDuel if you want to go there. Yeah, it is pretty much like the expensive guys or who's ever in your stack. And Edouard Julien, I'm not sure if he's mentioned him. He is in play as well, leading off from Minnesota.
Also, we assume French. So, obviously.
Oh, yeah. Julian.
Yeah. Third base, Squirrel.
Yeah, so I think Jose Ramirez is probably the best. I'm not getting to a ton of Cubs, but Christopher Morel, outfield third base eligible on FanDuel. Nolan Gorman and Rafael Devers. Again, I'm not getting to a ton of Boston, but they can always get to Rafael Devers. If you're looking for something cheaper, Alex Bregman has been going berserk the last few days. So if you believe in that kind of thing, then you can go there. He's got 3 home runs last 2 games. And then again, not playing a ton of Giants, but Matt Chapman is always consistently too cheap, especially on FanDuel.
Yeah. Okay. Cheese, your thoughts at third?
Ramirez is one of the best plays on the slate, on any slate. He's pretty expensive, but play him if you can. I think I mentioned it first. I'm playing Carpenter more at third as the cheap guy. I don't mind some of the cheap stuff in stacks, like Ezekiel Duran in my Texas stacks, even Zach Short, just because he's basically free for Atlanta. That's on DK only. Matt Chapman is on my list as a one-off. And, Bregman's only $2,500 on FanDuel. And, he's hot. So, got to like that.
I do like that. Okay. Shortstop, Cheese.
Corey Seager is the guy. $3,400 on FanDuel is silly. Even $54 on DK, I don't think is enough. And we don't have a lot of the usual big shortstops here. Certainly play Betts, but compared to all the other spend ups, I'm finding it tough to get to Betts. So Seager's my highest owned hitter by a lot. I'm fine with some Pena, Orlando Arcia, like a cheap Mason Wynn or something, but pretty much anything other than Seager is just trying to be silly.
Okay. Squirrel, are you trying to be silly?
Yeah, so that's a big ownership percentage, 35%. And shortstop, we generally get a little bit fewer options that are they're viable. I think there's a strong tournament, philosophy to maybe just go whoever you're stacking. If you're stacking the Rangers and play Corey Seager, otherwise maybe go with somebody else. Because he's going to see so much ownership. But if you're not playing Seager, I think the guys maybe Jeremy Pena, if you're playing Houston stack, Anthony Volpe may make some sense. He's leading off and won't see a lot of ownership against Pablo Lopez. Other guys that are cheap, like David Hamilton, just steals a bunch of bases. Nobody's going to play him. He's only 2,400 on FanDuel. If he ends up with 2 steals, that's potentially outscoring Corey Seager, even if Seager has a decent game.
Okay, wonderful. Take me to the outfield.
So I think the guy that I like the best is Adolis Garcia. Jordan Alvarez is probably going to project a little bit better, and then Michael Harris is leading off for the Braves tonight. I like Garcia. His home road splits for his career are pretty, pretty dramatic. So and he's at home tonight. and he's going against Carlos Carrasco, who isn't the pitcher that he once was 10 years ago. So I like Garcia the best. I think Jordan Alvarez is going to project the best. Michael Harris also in a good spot, like way too cheap on FanDuel at 2,800. He's like not priced to be leading off. If you're looking for savings, Mickey Moniak is he's left-handed hitter. He's going to be hitting against Lance Lynn. He's only 2,300 on FanDuel. And then if you want something that's cheap and part of the Houston stack, Joey Loperfido.
Ooh, very nice. Okay. Cheese, first, I have to let you know that Carp, your boy Carp, hit the Carp emoji, is leading off. And I'm sure you're thrilled about that.
Yeah. I mean, they are undefeated with Carp in the leadoff spot. Best team in the league. So,
okay. Well, we know where our bets are going.
Yeah.
So just a heads up. Is that a playable man?
Yeah. Yeah. He is cheap. He's one of the only cheap infielders that I like. But now that we're in the outfield, there's a lot of cheap plays that I love. And I love the expensive guys too. Alvarez, Tucker, and Adolis Garcia. I mean, there's nothing sneaky about any of them. And throw Ohtani in there for sure too. I do have one of those guys in most of my lineups because you can get them. There's plenty of fine mid-tier stuff. Squirrel mentioned Michael Harris. There's plenty of it, but the cheap stuff is really cheap and pretty good. More so on DK where you need the savings. So Willie Calhoun and Mickey Moniak, two of my favorite plays on the slate. Squirrel mentioned Loper Fido, and I like Trey Cabbage, also known as Trey Cabbage. He's actually my second highest owned hitter after Seager. Yeah, you
That's
see
your
what's
dumbest
happening.
joke of the day, and I loved it.
Good. I'm happy for you. Yeah, really cheap Angels and Astros, and throw in bottom of the Texas order with Taveras and Jankowski. That kind of allows you to do whatever you want and get the good pitching. And like that's the reason why I don't have to mess around with Griffin Canning is because I'm playing a couple cheap outfielders.
Yeah. Okay. The people want some home run calls here. That's what they want. They don't want play-by-plays. They want bombs. The people like bombs, Cheese, and you like giving them. Give me some home run calls.
Yeah. I might just do all cheap ones. Trey Cabbage, Willie Calhoun. And Nolan Shanuel.
Okay. What was that last one?
Shanuel and Caboche.
Okay. Squirrel, you got a few names for me?
Sure. I'll go start super expensive Adolis Garcia, then cheaper like Logan O'Hop, and then Mike Yastrzemski. Nice.
Yasser Majewski. Yeah.
Let's pause. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Mario Donizzi says, geez, Gary Sanchez hit a bomb this morning. I think maybe that was one of your home run calls.
Absolutely, yeah. So a bunch of people have noted, and I haven't seen the lineup, but Gorman is not in the lineup. He was like the chalk, cheap second baseman. So I know I've got to change some things around, and you might as well. Just make sure you've noted that.
Well, let's go back to it then. Let's go to second. If you had everything built and you had your chalk, cheap second baseman, where do you go now?
So, I mean, my strong lean would be to rework and spend up to one of those top three. If you've got a little bit of money, but not that much, that makes me like Julian a lot better. But like if you just need to stay cheap, I guess Hamilton on DK or Gavin Lux. But I really don't like it. Like I think because there's so many cheap outfielders I want, like I'll just do a double switch and get an expensive second baseman in most lineups.
Yeah. Okay. Hoosier saying Banner says doesn't look like our boy Caboche gets many at bats.
Correct.
Well, is that problematic? I like a guy to get like 4+.
Well, no, that's not that it means he's been in the minors. He hasn't had a chance to get at bats or not.
Okay. But he's not a big pinch hit risk.
He's been coming in as a pinch hitter. He is a little bit of a pinch hit risk.
Okay.
Yeah, but he's free. And at AAA last season, 30 homers, 32 steals, 306. He's not a nobody. He's a very good hitter.
Ooh, I like
get
that.
pinch hit for.
Yeah, I like that. Okay. Someone said they want some Roth's. What was it? Dumpers Thumpers, which apparently is the brand of my home run call. I don't even know who's on the slate. I honestly, it's been a long day. I don't know. I've got nothing for you today. I will have some Dumpers Thumpers for you tomorrow. Let's see what we've got. Here we go. DK Cash question. Cheese. This is at SP2. Why is Hauk projected higher than Bradley? Also, if you're choosing between Bradley and Gray at SP2, is that a complete no-brainer?
So second half of the question first. No, it's not a no-brainer at all. I prefer Bradley, but I wouldn't try to talk you off of Gray instead. I think they're both very similarly good cash game plays. Projection-wise, I don't use projections. I don't know. I don't think it's crazy to project Hauk higher, but I like Bradley better. I just would say projections aren't going to know exactly what to do with Taj Bradley because he just hasn't pitched much. So there's not enough to even go on. So I'm not the one to ask why someone projects better than someone else. I prefer Bradley.
Okay. There was a weather question for me, which I always love. The question is, how is the weather in Minnesota? Weather Edge has no real sample size on that, but based on temp, wind, dew point, how is it for pitching and hitting? I think it's pretty average. It's just winds are blowing in, which isn't great, but the temperature's kind of warm, which is kind of good. It's just like, it's nothing special or spectacular. What do we got? Update. Cheese's home run calls are hot. You're on a hot streak, Cheese.
I don't know if that's true, but
but you'll take it.
Thank you. Yeah.
Demigod. I love this name. Demigod 666. So he's like a demigod and Satan. Third base. Squirrel, you want Bregman or Bush? Cash on FanDuel.
I'm guessing I'm going to go Bregman. Check. Yeah, Bregman. But I think it's by pretty clear margin.
Okay. We have 25 minutes until lock. Is that possibly right? Is that humanly possibly correct?
It seems.
That's a whole show. We could do a whole show in that amount of time. We got a whole show. Well, we'll take your questions as long as the questions are here. If the questions dry up, we will leave and maybe we'll watch some basketball. Let's see here. Thoughts on Minnesota lefty Squirrel for a stack against Stroman?
Yeah, I think like anything's in play. Let me look up some particular Minnesota lefties. So yeah, like Max Kepler, I think is fine, and Julien we mentioned as a French leadoff hitter, and then Larnach as well. Yeah, so and like they're all like pretty underpriced. So yeah.
Okay. This is an interesting question, and I might go to you, Squirrel, because I think you might be more of a optimizer power user than Cheese, who is like using the old notepad there. The question is, hey fellas, as a mega RG premium fan, can I suggest on the value rankings pairing first and catcher together, since that's the way the site has it divvied out? That would be huge. So that's a FanDuel thing, right?
Yeah, I think the thing is, I don't think we can do that.
So let me jump in and say, on the second day of the season, I brought that up as, can we please do this? And it's just not, it's very difficult to do with the way it's set up. So I fully understand what you're asking, and I myself asked it, and we might get there, but it was not as simple as pushing a button and making it happen.
Yeah. Okay. Good answer. It's so frustrating when things are like that. They're just tech reasons.
Yeah, and so
if we did that, we would break 92 things.
Yeah, and FanDuel switched around their things are always different, and we had it one way, and I don't know. I don't understand technology, but I know that it's super hard to change that particular setting because we did look at it.
Okay. Good answer.
We looked at it.
We, not
smart people looked at it. And
the people that actually run RotoGrinders looked at it, not any of us. Ben says, DK cash pitchers. Cheese, if you were cashing for some pitchers, where would you go?
I would go Lopez and Taj Bradley. I think the correct answer is Lopez and Framber Valdez.
Okay.
And I don't think you're wrong to play John Gray in there either if you need more salary.
Okay. Roth, who is your top home run pick among hitters in the indoor games? The thing about me is that I don't know anything about baseball. So not only am I not, is there any indoor games first? The Astros.
Houston's got a game.
And Texas. Yeah. The best home run pick is without a doubt Yordan Alvarez. He's going yard, and there's no doubt about it. I think if the odds are anything, like even if it's minus 110, you just take that. You take that minus 110 because Yordan Alvarez is going yard tonight. Cut that, Steve. You clip that right there, and then you play it when he goes yard.
It's actually correct. I mean, that's genius. And please do tweet that as soon as he hits it.
Maybe cut out the even if the odds are minus 110 part. That was facetious. But let's see. What else do we got in the RG Discord? Hey, by the way, if you're watching this and you're thinking, what did I pay? What was the cost of this? You pay $12.99 for Netflix. You pay $15 for HBO. What do you pay for RotoGrinders video? You pay nothing. It's free. That's amazing. You get this incredible content. 2.5 of the sharpest minds in the biz giving you free content. And all we ask is that you hit the thumbs up. So it's there at the bottom of the screen. Hit that thumbs up button for us. Oh, here we go. FanDuel GPP Squirrel top off the wall stack. And I will give this to both of you, but Squirrel, you can start.
So I think my top off the wall one is actually Tampa Bay. Their numbers just don't look good this season, but they're getting a big ballpark upgrade, hitting in Fenway Park. I think they're going to be really low owned. So yeah, I think Tampa Bay is my off the board stack. They're stealing some bases. So yeah.
Okay, great. Cheese, you have a good off the board stack that you like?
I'll give you two, one cheap and one expensive. The Angels and crazy enough, the Dodgers are off the wall. So the Dodgers.
Okay, great. What else do we have? Let's see. Sean says, hey, sorry, guys. I came in late. Best FanDuel GPP pitcher considering ownership. Squirrel, I'm going to hand that one to you.
It really depends how you want to play the slate, which I guess is obvious. But I would say like Griffin Canning is super cheap. He's too cheap. And on FanDuel in particular, you can get that like quality starts. Like at 6,500 6,500. Like if he just gets the 6-inning quality starts, gives up 2 runs and gets the win, like suddenly he's in contention to be the highest scoring pitcher on the slate. Like there's nobody that's favored to get 7 straight games. Right, everybody's at like 6.5 or less. So like Griffin Canning can get there, and I guess that would like be my kind of off the wall tournament pitcher.
Okay, love it. Cheese favorite outfielder. This is DK Cash. He's got Duvall, 3,600 or under.
There's a lot. That's where this slate gets fantastic. For me, I would go Willie Calhoun. But I think Leody Taveras is totally fine there. Moniak is fine there. There's a lot, but I'll say Calhoun.
Okay. Devin says, will Houston be higher owned than we expect? And will Bregman be the highest owned Houston hitter? Cheese?
No. So keep in mind that the vast majority of people build with an optimizer. And an optimizer does not care that Bregman has been hot. Mm-hmm. So if everyone was just building by hand and reading game logs, then they'd play Bregman. But that's not how people actually build. So I would not worry about ownership. If you like him, play him, and you'll be fine. Yeah. And I don't think they'll be higher owned than we expect. I mean, I think they'll be the highest owned team, but not by some crazy outlandish margin.
Okay. Lo-Fi says, Cheese, is Nootbaar and Carpenter together viable in FanDuel Cash? These are two of our favorite people, just mostly for their names. I hope it's viable, but I don't know if it is.
Yeah, I think they're both quite playable.
Very good. Roth, red snapper or grouper, favorite fish to eat? It's grouper. I grew up, and we eat grouper in Tampa, Florida. It's what we do. So grouper is my answer by a lot. What else do we have? Oh, this is pretty good. My home run pick should be the Weatherman Thunderstick Bat of the Night. That's pretty. We could work with that.
Pretty intense. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
We need a big
Thunderstick.
We'll let Steve make a thundering lightning bolt.
Yeah.
Crashing down as
swinging,
leaving the bat. Yeah.
Yeah. Bat.
Like as Alvarez makes contact, lightning bolt shoots out.
Yeah. No pressure, Steve. We're gonna
Steve, you have 20 minutes to get
Yeah, you've got plenty of time. Just make it happen now.
Lightning strikes, like Roth's lightning strikes.
Yeah, I feel like there's a direction we can go.
There's a lot of ways to go there.
Yeah. Jim says, "Hey, I'm trying to spend up players in, but I get canning on some of my lineups. Is that okay, Cheese?" Yeah, right. We're okay with that.
Squirrel likes canning. I don't, but
I'm more
Squirrel
of a
likes
canning
them.
fan here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have one canning in about 30 lineups, and I would rather have 0.
Okay. Can Cheese quickly run through pitching on DK again? I suppose so. We could do that really quickly, right?
Yeah. My favorites are Lopez and Taj Bradley. Framber Valdez is probably the most logical cash game play. Houck and Morton are the other upper mid-tier guys that I think are viable. If you need a little more savings, John Gray is playable in any format. And Griffin Canning's really the only cheap pitcher, like the only guy below John Gray that I think you should even consider.
Okay. Squirrel, bringing you in the mix. D-Rock's got a question for you. He says, I'm stacking Texas, Morton or Lynn?
Oh, sorry. So he's picking a pitcher to pair with his Texas stack. Is that
correct? Yes. I guess he was just throwing that in case that was relevant.
Yeah. You know what? I might go with Lance Lynn. I think it'll be a little bit lower than Charlie Morton and about the same. You're getting about the same.
Okay, great. We'll go to Foul Course question, Squirrel. Right back to you. FanDuel single entry, Canning with a 4-4 of Houston, Texas, or Valdez with a full Houston stack and little sprinkles of Atlanta, Texas, and St. Louis.
I mean, they're going to be about equivalent. I think the Canning lineup is much more risky, but you're probably getting much more expensive bats if you're using Canning. So yeah, I would go with that one as a high risk option.
Okay, sounds good. Your go-to Chinese food order, Squirrel. Do you have a go-to Chinese food order?
No, and like I'm trying to actually kind of shake things up with my Chinese food ordering. What did I get on Monday? Because like Monday's our Chinese food day because the Chinese food place is next to my daughter's dance studio.
Oh, okay.
So she gets dropped off for dance. My wife picks up.
I thought we had like a Sheldon Cooper situation. It's Monday. We eat Chinese food.
I was very intrigued, but that does make sense. Okay.
So it's Mondays is Chinese food. And I switched from the orange chicken to the beef with broccoli, and like I don't know, the beef was just still a little bit too fatty. So like I'm still trying. I'm still searching. I go with the general, so there's a lot sesame chicken.
Yeah, I'm a General Tso, so whatever the hell it's called, guy myself. Cheese, you got something?
Well, what I'll say is the first time I go to any Chinese restaurant, I order beef with broccoli because I feel like you can tell a lot about the restaurant from that. And that's kind of how I decide, is this a good Chinese restaurant?
I like that.
But once I find out that it's good, then like it's different place to place. Like if you can ever find the ideal lemon chicken, that's like the best dish, but it's rarely great. I like cashew chicken. I like a pretty good bit, but
Okay.
Start with the beef with broccoli. Figure out what's going on there.
Okay, I have a 45-second Chinese food rant or just like random tale. So apparently, all the Chinese food that we eat when we think of Chinese is not at all Chinese, right? They do not eat any of these orders in China, right? It is not Chinese food whatsoever. And the reason is because one of the key ingredients in Chinese cooking is the Szechuan pepper. That's one of the main things that they actually cook with in China. Well, that has been illegal to import into the United States for whatever weird reason for a long ass time. So all of these Chinese people who wanted to open restaurants were like, how do I cook without the main ingredient of our cuisine? So they came up with this Americanized Chinese food that we all think of as Chinese food. And it wasn't until maybe 10 years ago or 15 years ago, the Szechuan pepper is now allowed to be imported. And now there are more authentic Chinese restaurants not the Americanized Chinese that we all think of, which is still dominate the Chinese food landscape. But
with almost all ethnic food, like I like the Americanized version of that ethnic food. Like even with Mexican food, which is fairly standard, if you go to a fully authentic Mexican place, I can't even eat it.
Right. Here's my Tex-Mex.
Yeah. So I fully understand that what I eat is not what the people in China eat.
Right.
We don't care. Is claiming that.
Yeah. Right. That was not a judgment on anyone or anything. I just thought that was interesting that it all had to do around a pepper that they were not allowed to have. All right. What else do we have? Boy, we got a lot of questions. FanDuel GPP, your favorite play under 10K. So I suppose we're talking pitchers, Squirrel. Are they all?
No, I was going to say, no, at pitcher, there's actually quite a few 10K plays. Okay. So I'll let Squirrel go.
Okay. So in terms of projection, I think it's going to be Framber Valdez. I think he's going to be the highest owned. If you want a mid-range option that's going to be lower owned and still has some safety and upside, like Lance Lynn, and if you want to go full off the board, crazy pants, Griffin Canning.
I want to go off the board, crazy pants. I think just the way you described it sounds fun. I wasn't interested until you described it that way. Cheese, can you rank the Yankees' top 3 hitters tonight, please?
Yes. So you do want to go with lefties against Lopez. I mean, you can always stack the Yankees, but it's a pretty big gap. So I would say Soto is the top spend up. Verdugo is the top salary guy. And then if salary is no option, I guess I'd still go Judge third. But assuming it is, I would then go Rizzo.
Okay. On DK, Cheese, Valdez or Chuck Morton?
It's so close. I would go Valdez.
Okay. The people know me so well. They're like, it's about time for Roth's daughter to pop in. It is, but they got a birthday party on a random Wednesday. I don't know why. So no kids interrupting the show today, but you were right on your timing. So much Chinese food talk makes me proud. Here we go. FanDuel Cash. Nate Lowe or Madelson, Squirrel? Nate Lowe or Madelson?
For FanDuel Cash, I would go with Madelson.
Okay. DK Cash question here. Squirrel, back to you. Valdez, Nootbaar, or Lopez, Moniak?
Sorry, it's Cash or tournaments?
Yes, DK Cash.
The first one, the Framber Valdez one.
Okay, great. Someone in chat saying everything you said about the Szechuan pepper is completely wrong. That's possible. It's just something I read.
It was a great story.
Yeah, I was still bought in.
Yeah, when I read it, it seemed right, so I just passed it along as fact. You know why narwhals?
I'm going to pass that along as well. It's going to become fact.
Do you know why narwhal? You know what a narwhal is?
Of course we do.
Yeah, narwhal
from your ocean trivia.
Yeah, right. It's the whale with the big horn. Do you know why they have a big horn on the top of their heads?
I only know because you've told me, and so I've told other people. But you go ahead. Some people haven't heard this.
So I was watching a special with narwhals, and my wife was like, "Those things are so weird. Why do they have a giant horn on their head?" And I was like, "It's so that they can break up the ice above them because they live in cold places, so that they can breathe." And she was like, "Yeah, that makes sense." And then 10 minutes later, I was like, so I just made that up. I don't know if that's real or not. And we Googled it. Nope. That's absolutely not.
It's way more legit than any other reason.
Right. They don't know why, but that reason should be why.
And if they don't know why, that could be why.
It could be. Yeah. So now whenever I do something like that, we call it a narwhal situation in my house. I tell my wife something. She's like, is this a narwhal situation? So the Szechuan pepper may indeed be a narwhal situation is what I'm telling you. These shows, we have so much time to kill. It's great when you can get into. Now I see why Dean is all over the place usually. Your favorite angel bats, Squirrel?
So I think Mickey Moniak and Logan O'Hoppe are my two favorite. They're pretty cheap, have some power potential at difficult positions, or at least O'Hoppe's a catcher. So
okay, great. DK GPP Cheese. This is a 3v3 with a Houston stack. Either way, it's with a Houston stack. Olsen short Duvall or Goldie Carp Newt Bar.
I would go with the Braves. Olsen short Duvall.
Yeah. Roth, your thoughts on a Cubs Braves game stack? Yeah, hell yeah. Those teams sound good to me.
He wants you to go on a game stack rant is what he wants.
Oh, damn it. You're right. There is no game stack. You can stack either team, but it is not a game stack. Thank you.
We just run the clip from the other day. You nailed it. You don't need to do that all again.
Yeah, thank you. Sean says, FanDuel GPP, Heim or Nate Low? Cheese, Heim or Low?
Low.
MK says, Cheese and Squirrel is by far the best crunch time crew with Roth. Of course, I'm biased for our 2019 FBWC in Chicago bash. Keep up the great work. Thank you. Thank you.
That was good times. That's one of my favorite trips. And that was, do you remember Scott Crones used to be the editor?
Yeah, of course.
Scott, because he was my +1 there. And I remember, so we hanging out with Squirrel and Mike Polano was there and a bunch of people. That was good times. And it was in Chicago. I had so much pizza, as you can imagine.
Yeah, I can imagine. Blink says, Squirrel, what are your thoughts on using both pitchers from Rays and Sox with a full Brave stack and an A's mini stack in a very large DK GPP? That was a lot in my mind.
Yeah, but like that all makes sense. And I like the idea that like you're going off the board with pitcher, and then like you're kind of playing somebody against, like in terms of the A's against the chalk pitcher.
Okay. Jose says cash pitcher, Squirrel, Bradley or Valdez. I don't know why I went to you for cash. You don't ever play cash, but Cheese, you don't either.
It's Valdez. So.
Yeah. Okay. All right. We got that. Wow. Just mostly just talking food. We're scrolling. We got about 2 or 3 minutes until lock with so much food talk. I approve of that, by the way. Here we go. Our guy Butthole Jenkins says, Cheese, you want Tucker, Alvarez, and Harris, or Garcia, Alvarez, and Ozuna?
Read those again. They both sounded great.
Yep. Tucker, Alvarez, and Harris, or Garcia, Alvarez, and Ozuna?
The second one.
Okay, great. It's hard to like scroll through and find the questions at this point. We've gone so off the rails here. Marshall says, Squirrel, Houston Dodgers, Atlanta, main stacks for DK 150. I think he's just saying, are you cool with those 3 teams being his main 3 teams?
Yeah, I mean, those are 3 great offenses. So.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Look at this. From 1968 to 2005, the United States Food and Drug Administration banned the import of Szechuan pepper. See, I'm kind of correct. I wasn't fully making it up. Dean says Roth watches one TikTok. This is legit. I read a whole article on it. Hey, you know what? I think we've damn near caught up on all of the questions. Yeah. Literally, we did all the things. We answered all the questions, and we're just talking food. So I think we can bounce out here and eat some food, because all this food talk has made me rather hungry. You are very welcome, Marshall. Make sure you hit us with the thumbs up. Thank you for the kind words. We're going to bounce on out of here. So for Squirrel, for Cheese, for our wonderful production crew, always working hard behind the scenes, guys, we appreciate you. We love you. And we will catch you tomorrow. You have been crushed.